Radical.
Welcome to part one of Radical Rapid Fire. Comment response for March the 7th through March the 13th, 2022. Short comments, quick replies. Albert Menendez. Clothes are the easiest thing to unload at a flea market, hands down. In my experience, that's one of the easiest things I've been able to unload. Specifically, belts. Thing about belts is, as long as you have like a reasonable, the normal waist for a male, and probably you can get belts that are maybe like a little big and just tell them, hey, you could just get some scissors and trim off the edge of the belt if you want to. Belts, men's belts, I found. I put out 2 men's belts. Well, I want to go into a lot of flea market stories, but I do agree with you, Albert Menendez. I'll say that. Clothes are pretty easy to unload at a flea market. CAWF Video Game Wrestling. I honestly like listening to the talk about games with Mike and Ryan better than the James and Mike Mondays. James cares more about old movies and games. I think it's obvious that AVGN is Mike and James just plays him on the show. Well, it'd be interesting to see like what would have happened. Let's say if James Rolfe never talked about video games and just talked about movies. Let's say he just, took a crap on old movies or, maybe some of the worst movies of all time, maybe like some Adam Sandler movies, possibly. Now, Adam Sandler has some good movies, but he has some stinkers, I'll say that. Maybe that's not the best example. What's a good example of somebody that most of the time when they're in a movie, the movie was freaking terrible? I mean, you could see it there, but I don't think there would have been nearly as big as a market. He wouldn't have been the household name he is right now if he was the angry movie nerd. Chicago Infinity. Haha, scumbaggery. Kind of like douchebaggery. Well, similar, sure. But I think it's different levels too at Chicago. Like, when you talk about douchebaggery, it's somebody maybe like being a douche. And somebody could be a douche but not a scum. But when you talk about scumbaggery, that's like the higher level stuff. So similar, sure. There's baggeries for different things, but scumbaggery, a higher level than douchebaggery. After Burnett, if I had millions of dollars, I'd bail them out with the condition that every major decision goes through me first. I'd also shut down all offices apart from one, and Tommy would be banned from commenting on forums, YouTube, and social media. Yeah, if you had that much money to basically save Amico, there would be conditions. And I agree with those conditions. Because Tommy hurts the brand. Tommy has done more to hurt that Amico brand than I think anyone else. And yeah, if you had the money, I wouldn't even spend the money and waste the money, really. It's just not worth spending at this point. If you did have the money, maybe buy up all the assets and make another console or something else that's unrelated, probably. Just a fresh start. That Amico name is it's really worthless right now. AJT Comics brand. People who trade their games to these overpriced USA retro game stores are getting more stupid than ever. Then you got stupid people giving their games to the MGR crew. Then you got Hancock. Well, people that trade in for, very low prices like GameStop, that's pretty stupid. But at least you're getting a couple quarters for your video games. And that's a lot more than you'll get from the MGR crew when donate your games to them or Hancock or whatnot. So I agree with that. Hey, speaking of, what's going on with Hancock? I haven't kept up. Has he released any information on that very humble game museum yet? I don't know. Arioka, hi Rick, I just bought Middle-earth Shadow of War Definitive Edition on the Xbox One for $8.99. That's a really good deal. Can't wait to play it. Well, tell me how the Definitive Edition is. And I'll tell you how the regular edition is past maybe the first hour or so. I really am not even playing Shadow of War or Mordor this year really that much. I've just been so tied up with other things. But let me know how that is. I'm sure you'll enjoy it for $8.99. That's a great deal for $8.99. Has anyone got that less? Is it on sale now for anything less? I mean, I would prefer to have the physical copy of it. But $8.99, you can't beat that. I remember getting Shadow of Mordor for $10 digitally. So yeah, you'll get a lot of good time out of that. Martyville. Mercedes cars can be used on Mario Kart 8, so I wonder if Toyota will get a deal with Nintendo. Well, yeah, hopefully if Toyota gets a deal with Nintendo and Mario Kart, They will feature the mighty 1994 Toyota Celica. Scotty Kilmer's favorite car. The car that Scotty Kilmer doesn't drive at all, right? So it's possible, sure. The weird thing is, most people that play Mario Kart, I think, probably can't afford Mercedes vehicles. So I thought it was kind of weird to actually have that feature there. Or just weird in general to see Mario driving around in a Mercedes. I'm like, well, that's kind of strange. I wonder, did Nintendo pay Mercedes or did Mercedes pay Nintendo? Because you can make an argument either way to where, like, well, I'm not sure as far as the brands and whatnot. Would it help Mercedes more to sell cars to have their car in a Mario game, mostly played by, children and young adults? Or would it, I just don't know. It seems like it'd be more helpful for them to have a different car company featured, right? Maybe like a more accessible, reasonably priced car company. I say that now, knowing that no cars are reasonably priced right now. 90G. Pokemon cart would be a cool idea. I tell you what, how about Charizard, with flaming shells or just, fireballs or whatnot? That would be an amazingly cool idea. Because look at it this way. You got all the Pokemons. You got so many of them. I'm shocked that it hasn't been done yet. They're just leaving money on the table, 90G, leaving money on the table. Brandon, I'll probably never own a car, not because I don't want to, but because I know the prices are asking are just out of control. Toyotas are just out of reach at this point. Yeah, ironically, I just mentioned Mercedes. Okay, Mercedes, their newer vehicles are far more expensive than, Toyotas and Hondas. Like I'm talking about their upper level stuff. But I mean, nothing's really cheap right now. But when it comes to used cars, different. Used Mercedes and BMWs are going for fractions of what used Toyotas and Hondas are going for. That comes down to reliability. Hondas and Toyotas, they last for a long time, especially like a lot of those 90s models. They last for a long time. They are pretty much bulletproof. So I don't know really what to tell you. I would say if you're looking for a car, somebody just come by the other day talking about how they got a great deal on a Buick LeSabre. You want to maybe target the late 90s models Buicks because there's not a whole lot of interest around old Buicks. But for what you get a great deal and you get a whole lot of car for that. So don't give up. There's still some good deals out there. Maybe you get a car that's mechanically perfect, but doesn't have that great of paint. Then you just take it to Mako, So don't give up, Brandon, don't give up. Crash Bandicoot. You realize people grow up and move on in their life. They're Thare. That's not exactly how you spell there. Their life, people don't own it, want it to be an online presence forever. Is want on it? Is that what you mean to say? A lot of errors here. Now you're talking about Alpha Megasin, and I responded to you that yes, people do grow up and they do move on with their life. Part of doing that, though, is actually doing the service, the kind service of letting people know that you're moving on. All the guy had to do was leave a comment on his last upload telling people, thank you for all the years being here, helping me grow my channel. Thank you so much. But I'm moving on to the next phase of my life. All that cunt had to do was that. But that apparently was too much for him to do. Too much for him to do. And, that's why people criticize the guy. Also, far too much for him to turn off the Patreon and join for years after he actually left his channel. So yeah, people do move on, but there's a way about going to move on in your life. Stephen M. In the new game, Kirby straight up ate a bunch of innocent dogs that just wanted attention. He also stole someone's car and wrecked it. Okay, you look at it in that trailer, and I guess it's meant to set up to look like the enemies are attacking Kirby. But there's 3 dogs, and they look like they're mostly just, they want to say hello. And you know how dogs are. Imagine that under any other scenario where cute dogs ran at you and you swallowed them whole. Okay? I talked about in a video last year how Kirby was a bloodthirsty cannibal. A bloodthirsty cannibal. And he stole a car. Yeah, someone's car could have just been sitting there. They could have been going back to the car. He stole it and Joy was joyriding in the vehicle right after eating some dogs. So yes, Stephen, and I agree. This is this what Kirby has been doing is incredibly messed up. And that's the one scenario to where, like, I look at Nintendo, most of their games are just really cutesy, harmless fun, but no, you know, they got a killer in Kirby.